Hello, my name's Steve Riley and this is my wife Penny. We're at Terlingham Vineyard. We're actually picking some Rondo today, which we're going to turn into red wine. We have 5 varieties of grapes here, 2 for red, and then the 3 varieties that we use for sparkling wine. That's the classic varieties, Pinot Meunier, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. As you can see, these are the Pinot Noir. They're not quite so prolific a cropper, and they produce obviously a variety, a juice that's more concentrated and generally used for sparkling wine. We have further over the Meunier and the Pinot Noir, and on the far side we have a still wine, or a variety that we use for still wine, which is Bacchus. We'll probably be picking those later in the week. You can see here that the soil is ideal actually for a sparkling wine. It's clay over chalk, and there's a considerable amount of chalk on the surface. This enhances the flavour of the grape, and here at Terlingham we pride on ourselves on doing everything we can to get this fruit into the perfect condition. That includes spraying during the summer at regular intervals to prevent disease, and as you can see they're in first class condition. There's no deterioration at all. We've been helped particularly this year by the weather. It's been good throughout, no rain at fruit set, and a nice dry summer. It's lasted well into September, and it means that we'll achieve quite high sugar levels, which is what a winemaker wants when the fruit leaves the vineyard and goes into the winery.
We need to test the sugar and acid levels before we make wine, and that's how we decide when the grapes are ready for picking. This is a refractometer that we use to test the sugar levels. The light is reflected onto this glass, and there's a scale inside which will tell me approximately how much alcohol will be in the grapes or in the wine when we've fermented it. So I'm just going to put a bit of juice onto the glass and then look up to the light. And that's telling me that that'll give about 10% alcohol if we don't add any sugar. We do actually want it to be about 12%, so we'll add some sugar to increase the alcohol. We add approximately 17.5 grams of sugar per litre of juice to increase the alcohol by 1%. So once we've picked all the grapes and we've crushed them and we've made an estimate as to how much juice we've got, then we'll add the appropriate amount of sugar and also the yeast and start the fermentation. This white variety is Bacchus, that's the variety name, and we'll be making a still white from these grapes. You can see that they're quite small, and most wine grapes are very small because the flavour is actually just underneath the skin, so you want a lot of skin to pulp ratio. We'll probably start picking these next week, and I'll obviously test the sugar levels. As well as testing the sugar levels with the refractometer, I'll obviously taste them. And they're very, very sweet, a lovely aromatic flavour. I'm hoping to make an exceptional wine with this.
Destalked the reds, and we'll ferment these on the skins. That'll then get the maximum colour and flavour from the grapes. We'll fill these tanks up and then start inoculate the wine with yeast and start the fermentation. Obviously the reds are treated differently to the whites. The whites we ferment, red wines are fermented on skins, whites are actually pressed and the juice is fermented. So with white grapes, we'll bring them into the restaurant, into the winery, we'll use the destalking machine, and then the fruit is pressed. And we press fairly hard for fruit for white wine. We'll use a press like this, and up to about 2 bar pressure. Whereas with different wines, we're looking for different things. With a white wine, we want to enhance the flavour by trapping as much of the flavour from under the skins as possible. So we press to bar pressure, and we then gather the juice from the bottom. It's pumped into a tank like this, one of these tanks. It'll then settle overnight, maybe 2 days. We'll then inoculate that with yeast and ferment it. And then effectively you have wine. We make a third wine, which is what we will predominantly produce here, and that's a sparkling wine. That's treated with a great deal of care, because we want very clean fruit that has higher acidity and not necessarily needing as much sugar levels. They come into the vineyard, from the vineyard rather, and are pressed in whole bunches, and are pressed like this. This doesn't press quite so hard. It has a bladder inside which we pump full of water and applies pressure to the grapes that are stored inside here, and out will come the juice. And this juice is then fermented, and to get the sparkle, we will then re-inoculate the yeast, having made distilled wine. We'll re-inoculate that and bottle it in these sort of bottles over here. And as you can see, these are all on the racks. We're just about to remove the yeast that's developed. So, having made distilled wine, re-inoculated it, we're going to lay this down for probably, well, this is Sable, and we would lay this down for about 18 months with Pinot Meunier, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir. We'll probably go for up to 3 years. And we lay that down to get the maximum yeast flavour, and as you can see there, in the bottom of that, I don't know whether you're going to catch that on camera, but there's a pellet of yeast which has to be removed after this process. So they come up here, they're racked and turned daily, just a quarter turn, and are gradually brought to the upright position from an angle this angle. That mixes the heavy and the light yeast together and creates a pellet which we can then remove by, well, we do this on what they call on the volley. Put it on your hip, and as you bring the bottle up, you're going to take the crown top off and expel the yeast pellet. It's quite wasteful and a bit of a messy process, so we're not going to do any of it now. We then top it up, and it's ready for sale. These wines here are probably going to be for sale by Christmas. They are effectively handmade, made in a traditional way, and we hope that they're going to be the start of something good. Well, here we are at the end of what's been almost a 6-year process. This is the end product, really, which we're really pleased with. It's Sable.
It's been left on the leaves for 18 months.
Well, cheers, Penny.
Cheers.